Dr. Seuss once said, "The more you read, the more things you will know, and the more you learn, the more places you'll go." Sounds simple, right? But now, let me ask you this. When was the last time you read a book that wasn't for school or for work? Exactly. Now, let me tell you about a man, James Clear. You might know him as the author of Atomic Habits, a book on proven ways to build good habits. Well, James wasn't always a best selling author. Once, he was just a guy with a broken face. Literally, he had serious injuries in high school. But while healing, he read. Not school textbooks, but books on mindset, psychology, and personal growth. And he read slowly, like one of those 2 pages and nap kind of readers. But those small pages built big habits. He got stronger, he changed his life, and eventually has wrote a book that's helped millions of people. So, start small. Even 1 page a day can rewrite your story. And now, let's go from James to Elon. Yes, the Elon Musk. When asked where Musk learned to build rockets, he simply replied that he read books. If Elon Musk can build rockets from reading, you can build your dreams too, even if it starts with just a suspense novel or a fiction story. I asked 30 people why they do not like reading, and the most common responses I got was that 1. Books were too boring, 2. Books take too much time and effort, and 3. Movies and TV shows are better. Look, the problem is not just that we don't have enough time. It's also about value. We've reduced the value of reading to such a point where we see reading as just a chore. But you see, reading improves focus and memory. It's like going to the gym for your brain, but with less sweating and more benefits. But even after knowing this, many might say that books seem boring. They're too long, they don't have explosions, and you can't just go past the boring parts. Well, if that's the case, then you should consider reading a book that matches a genre you like. For example, if you like watching mystery movies, maybe read a mystery book. I still remember once my mum gave me an old book on yoga and breathing techniques, and that after reading that, I was more convinced of its benefits, rather than having to repeatedly listen to my mum, who tried her best to convince me. And look, reading can be tiresome, especially if the book is very long. But you do not need to read 50 or 100 pages every day. You can choose to split your reading up and read in sections for however long you want, even if it is as short as 6 minutes, which still reduces stress significantly by 68%, which is more effective than going for a walk or listening to music, as found by the University of Sussex. And reading doesn't waste time. It brings value to that time by improving mental and emotional health, memory, and brain connectivity. You can choose to set a reading goal, like read for 5 minutes a day. And let's be honest, you probably spend the same amount of time in just finding something to watch. Let's say you have 1 hour of free time, maybe spent watching TV. You can choose to set 5 or 10 minutes aside from that time to read a few pages. It's your choice. And if reading seems to need too much effort, you can choose to read a book that is smaller but still matches a genre you like, so it is easier to read and to follow. But even after hearing all this, you still might say, what about movies and TV shows? So, are movies better than books? Well, the answer is that it depends. Look, I love movies too, and books and movies, they're both similar. In books, you visualize stories, while in movies, you see stories. But one thing that books do very well, that movies often struggle with, is that Books let you hear a character's inner thoughts. They're like movies made by your brain. And your brain has a pretty creative imagination. So, the next time you think reading is boring, just remember, Elon Musk built rockets from reading. James Clear rebuilt his life one page at a time. And you might just discover the next big thing. Or you might rediscover your purpose, even if you start with just one page a day. And I must tell you this, that Bill Gates, who reads about 50 books in a year, once said that if he wanted a superpower, it would be to be able to read super fast. The man who built Microsoft, who changed the world, still makes time for reading. So I'm sure we all can. And Albert Einstein, the man who changed how we see the universe, once said that the only thing you absolutely have to know is the location of the library. So, what do all these legends have in common? Well, they weren't born great, they read their way to greatness. They did not wait for answers, they turned pages until they found them. So I encourage you to build a habit of reading before it goes extinct. So tonight, when you go home, don't scroll, don't binge. Just read, even if it's only for 5 minutes. And remember that those 5 minutes can turn your ordinary day into the beginning of something extraordinary. Thank you.